All right, good morning, everybody. Wildcard weekend is in the books. Welcome to On the Block NFL podcast. Joe Rafari, Brandon Graham, Rob DeSona, and Igor Henriquez. Brandon, you had a question to ask about the hat, and I was going to say, we're going to talk about the hat. I have it to start off. Igor, it's your shine to shine.
How about them Cowboys?
Well, we'll go wrong.
Yeah.
Can't go wrong. We'll
go wrong. Yeah,
of course.
And you know what? It was a hell of a finish, and for all the wrong reasons. We can talk about the QB draw that happened at the end of the game, Brandon, if you want to get into that first.
Yeah, so looking back, I watched that play a number of times, and hopefully Rob and Igor and all you guys can kind of speak to it too. But what I saw is Dak not even look at his receivers. Like, I don't think the receivers knew it was supposed to be a QB draw at all. I think it was more so just a reactionary thing from Dak trying to get as many yards as he can. Because I know about those. When the time's down, as a quarterback as well too, getting the ball and just trying to get closer and closer towards the end zone. But he took too much time off the clock, point blank, period. And Mike McCarthy probably proved it. Who knows because none of them actually defended it and said, and none of them in the post-game presser said anything negative about it. They said it's fine. They were fine with it. But that's the problem. You shouldn't be fine with a QB sneak with 14 seconds left, especially with a back line judge having to put the ball down. You can't just put the ball down and snap it, right? So it was just really bad. And it kind of goes to show that Dak Prescott probably doesn't have the arm to throw it 60-plus yards into the end zone and actually give his receivers a shot. So I thought that was a surprise for sure.
Yeah, we lost you, Joey.
Can't hear you, Joey.
We lost Joey. I mean, into the technical issues, I agree.
I'll just take out the headphones, but go ahead, yeah.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think it was a ballsy call. I was stunned by the call with no timeouts, but yeah, I mean, if he pulls up, 5 yards earlier or knows the rule about handing the ball off to the ref, they might have gotten at least a playoff. Now, again, there's no guarantee they would have been able to do much with it anyways, with no one really being said, and a lot of things couldn't go wrong. But I mean, let's be honest here. The game should not have been that close to begin with. They were dominated from pillar to post. The only reason they were in were a couple of Jimmy G mistakes on interceptions, and the 49ers weren't all that great in the red zone. I didn't even see Cooper barely touched the ball. He was an absolute ghost out there. They probably had opportunities for CeeDee Lamb. They didn't get him the ball. The running game was non-existent. They didn't deserve to win the game or even be that close. It was lucky that it was even that close. Because the defense kind of held them in for strides. But again, they didn't play a good game. I think Mike McCarthy, again, with his play calling, with his his use of timeouts, it's been a lot of that during the season. And again, they're just the Dallas Cowboys, blue and white, and in the playoffs, it is what it is. And I got a little kick out of it and so forth, and then all the little the Cowboys fans crying and stuff. Everyone plays off to that stuff. But I knew it was going to happen. That's why I laid a lot of money down on the 49ers, because that's what happens to the Dallas Cowboys in the playoffs. It is what it's 25 years of utter disappointment, maybe almost 30. It's a disaster zone.
I was going to say, too, Garoppolo also let them back in the game with that interception, right? And there was a lot of drop balls as well in that game. But, if you guys want to wrap up with that, I guess we could maybe just kind of run through, just maybe on every game, we'll just give a sentence or so. So congratulations to Brandon. Cincinnati won a playoff game, and that's going to lead us to this weekend, which we'll get to a little bit later. But I think Las Vegas really came off an emotional win there the week before, right? Coming off short rest, playing on the Monday night. And, all those factors came in. Cincinnati wins by 7, 26, 19.
Yeah, it was a great game. Once again, I thought it was a little bit closer than it needed to be. Jamar, they didn't get the ball to T. Higgins. I was pretty disappointed that the guys didn't spread it out to him. But at the end of the day, the defense showed them, exactly who they were. Derek Carr showed us exactly who he was, the fumbling machine he is. And, Darren Waller wasn't really too involved either. So it was one of those things where it was just so much emotion from the Sunday night game going into that game. I didn't see the Las Vegas Raiders making a run at all. So that the best team won. It was a little bit too close, but they got off that hump for 31 years. Remember, no text within 31 years, and now they're trying to win their first game on the road in the playoffs. So it's going to be an interesting one for sure. But it's a different franchise with Joey B at the Joe Burrow, as they like to call him, at the helm.
Igor or Rob, any quick thoughts on that one, or do you guys want to go to the Patriots game?
Oh God.
Igor's cringing already.
It's not even weird and stuff anymore.
He's like, give me
no,
some
I think the
time to talk
Bengals.
about Cincy.
I think the Bengals were the better team. They were able to do a decent job containing the Raiders' pass rush, and I think that was the key to the game. Again, the defense did a good job on Derek Carr in a lot of situations, and they played smart football. So I think it was a deserved win, and I guess it was a deserved cover too. So again, it was a good Bengals win. It's going to be, I think, a different story this weekend. I think it's a much harder opponent, but yeah, I mean, it was a solid Bengals win for sure.
I think I went 5-0
Who did?
last week. I think I went 5-0.
Did
There
you?
you go.
Yeah, I think so.
I might have got another chicken wing situation.
Yeah, I think we have to have two. I took the Rams. Took them. Anyways, we'll get through the games first.
Baby, we got things open, so we might have to get into whatever that is.
Yeah, no Roner.
Rob, any last thoughts on that one?
I don't know if the Bengals are the better team, but what I noticed in every game was the better quarterback won every single game, with maybe the exception of the Dallas San Francisco game. The better quarterback won, so you can just see that the tilting of the field in terms of good quarterbacks basically winning these playoff games, and they win these big games. You almost can't win anymore without a really good to elite quarterback.
Those are facts.
And yeah, no, that's very true. Which is gonna unfortunately lead us to our next opponent. I hope you guys. I'm playing the Undertaker track for Igor because the Patriots got buried last week, guys. By Brandon, which team was it?
No one circles the wagons like the Buffalo Bills. It's one of those games. Perfect game.
Circle the wagons. The season's over for Mac Jones and the boys. Igor,
boy.
give us your eulogy for this team.
I mean, watching that, it was, probably the most disgusting game of football I've witnessed as a Patriots fan by far. You know what? Like, there isn't much to really say. They got dominated from pillar to post. The defense didn't show up. I thought it was a disgusting display of football. There's not really much to it. It's one of those games where, I give Josh Allen and the Bills credit. 7 drives, 7 touchdowns. The defense was just, atrocious. I don't know. I'm not, as a guy that can see a lot of these guys are going to go into free agency. I mean, I'm not paying J.C. Jackson any money. I don't care how good of a freaking, all-pro season he had. He was absolutely atrocious in a lot of the plays. And again, it reminded me of last year when the Bills really stuck it to him on Monday Night Football, but it was even worse. And considering it was a playoff game, it was a shambolic display by the Patriots, and it was a deserved win by the Bills, obviously, but the one team showed up and the other one, we're still in New England. I don't know what the heck they were doing. So to not even get one stop. I mean, the offense wasn't great, but the defense didn't give them any opportunity to do much. I didn't even think that Mac had that bad a game. Again, a couple of very opportunistic interceptions that were really well done by the Bills secondary, but like the defense didn't give him anything. You pretty much knew every time that the Bills offense was going to get out there, they're going to score another touchdown. And again, Bills again, and any other situation, and Bill's known as a defensive genius. Like there'd be calls to get somebody fired because that was absolutely.
That's what I said right after the game. I said any other coach gets
any other coach. Yeah, defensively you're gonna get canned. But Bill's got his reputation. I think it took a hit absolutely because for a playoff game and in that situation to get dominated like that, it was an embarrassment. I was embarrassed as a Patriots fan, and we'll just leave it at that.
That Mika Hyde interception was fantastic on that first Patriots drive. Like what? Yeah. Unbelievable.
Yeah. And I was going to say, go ahead. Yeah.
Can I just weigh in on this game? I've been saying this all year. The Bills aren't the best team, but I think in the NFL they have the highest ceiling where if everything's clicking, they might have the best offense, defense, special teams across the board. I think they're a very consistent team. As I've said about Josh Allen, like he had this unbelievable game. So I expect him to kind of have a regression. But when they are clicking on all cylinders like that, when he's throwing the ball well, that team is an exceptional football team. It's just, are they consistent enough to do that week in and week out?
It's Devin Singletary, man. Devin Singletary finally getting the chance to 2 touchdowns. The past 4 weeks, he's been on fire. Wish he played better the entire year to help my fantasy team. But like once again, he was on fire for the past 3 games, and they couldn't stop with him on the run, on the ground or through the air. So it's one of those things. And Josh Allen even said when he was the first touchdown he threw to Dawson Knox, he's trying to throw the ball out of bounds. And the fact that he came down with that,
he dropped it in. Yeah,
exactly. That's how you know it was just the Bills' day, and everything runs through the Buffalo Bills now in the AFC East. I'm sorry, Igor. You had 7 years, 6 Super Bowls. You're good, man.
I'm fine at the end of the day. It was a surprise they even made the playoffs, but I mean, at that point, I wish they had tanked to get a better draft pick because that was an embarrassing display.
They don't draft well anyway, so it doesn't matter whether they get number 1 or number 10.
Anyways.
I was just quickly going to say before we moved on, sorry, Rob, I had to try to speak in there, but I was just going to say at one point during the season, and Igor, not just Igor, a lot of Pats fans and just some football people were setting up a Super Bowl matchup of Tom Brady versus Bill when they went through that streak, right? A lot of people put in Super Bowl bets when the playoffs started for that matchup. And I guess it's, quick to say that we talk about a lot of teams beating up on bad competition. And they did that. And then when they, had to play a real team, like they played the Colts, that they got, run over by the Colts. At the end of the game, it ended up being a little bit closer. We can use they are who we thought they were at some point, right? Now, obviously not having Cam Newton was a big improvement, just not having him, and Mac Jones is something to work with for next year. But that was just my last thoughts. Any thoughts, guys, before we get to this week's games? We're good.
Well, I mean, I thought the Tampa Bay defense did a great job on Jalen Hurts in that situation. They looked like they were healthy, and that's I think they did a pretty solid job. I think Jalen Hurts is another guy that you just don't know what you're going to get out of him because he's all over the map. And when they weren't able to run the ball that effectively, you could sort of see that he didn't really have much threat offensively in terms of the passing game. So. I wasn't totally surprised, but the Tampa defense really stepped up pretty well. So should be an interesting way to see because that's exactly what they did last year. And when they went on that run, the defense started playing out of its mind. And Todd Bowles should probably get a head coaching job somewhere. He's had
one before.
He's had one, yeah. For the Jets, though. Yeah, he's a great candidate.
The Jets is basically where you go to die, anyways. They're in the Giants. Any of those New York teams.
Yeah, I said before, like. The worst matchup for the Eagles was the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. They stopped the run so well, and Jalen Hurts is just not a great passer of the football.
Not a thrower.
Yeah, he's just not. So, and Devontae Smith, they're pretty much wasting the draft pick on him. Jalen Reagor's a bust, but that game was what we thought it was going to be. The Arizona Cardinals. I want to say this to Igor.
Yes.
As I said before, man, Cliff Kingsbury, Kyler Murray always start hot. I said this at the start of the year. I said it last year as well. They're always going to falter by the end of the year, always, and that was a collapse. Cliff Kingsbury. I don't even know how he has that job, first of all. Vance Joseph's, his defense got absolutely obliterated. It was embarrassing. Kyler looked rushed, and it was just one of those games where I just think that, you have to make a change at head coach probably. You have to make some changes because, like, you can't rely so heavily on DeAndre Hopkins, on a receiver, to get your offense going, right? So that was not a surprise to me at all.
Rob wants to jump in when we talk about Cliffsbury.
I told you guys, he's the worst. He's the worst coach. His teams get worse every year. And this is from – like college, with elite quarterbacks, they get worse. He left Texas Tech with Patrick Mahomes worse than when he got it. They had a worse record with Patrick Mahomes when he left. I don't know how he got this job. And if I'm the Arizona front office, he's gone. There's no reason that he should be like. They look off the last 5 weeks. They didn't look like a playoff team.
Yeah, they fell off the face of the earth. One touchdown, they got shut out in the first half, down 21-0. That was one of the games that I loved last week, the Rams. I know a lot of people were on the fence, but I guess that provides some closure. We wrapped up for last week, guys?
Yeah, I was just going to say on my end, I think the DeAndre Hopkins thing was huge because, again, as soon as he got injured and was not available, their offense went down the drain. I think James Conner was another guy that got really banged up. He didn't look right, so – I think they do rely a little bit, maybe too much on DeAndre Hopkins. I mean, there's only so much that AJ Green at this point of his career can really give you, and I think that took away a lot of what they did. So without Hopkins, they were kind of like seen as maybe a one-trick pony. So it is what it is.
I was going to say, it's not like they don't have weapons. They don't have obviously other Hopkins, but Christian Kirk's been pretty good, and Zach Ertz has a track record as well. It's just whatever, like nothing was working for them.
Like, offensive
Brandon's 100% right. If you rely on and Hopkins is a great receiver, but if that's your offense, you're in a lot of trouble. And that says something to the quarterback too. if he can't operate with unless Hopkins is there, that's ridiculous. But I think this is more on coaching. I think this is more on coaching.
I agree.
I don't disagree.
Get Cliff. Send him to the moon. Send him to the moon, man. I don't even know how you got that job in the first place. But hey.
I used to say this about
Baker Mayfield.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Sorry.
Go to Baker. Yeah.
I was going to say, Baker Mayfield was at Texas Tech as well before Patrick Mahomes. He transferred to Oklahoma. Patrick Mahomes stayed the years because he's playing baseball as well. He knew he was going to get to the NFL. But Cliff Kingsbury's never had a winning team. His defense has always been atrocious. And at Texas Tech, I have no clue. I think, honestly, he got the job because of his good looks. I think that's a job. And offensively, he's okay. Starts to seem off really well, but they're always going to falter down the year, and that's exactly what's happened in the past few years.
He was just like your typical Big 12 kind of coach, with like Oklahoma, like just throw the ball downfield, spread offense, let's get some points, and you're going to shoot out every game, but you can't do that in the NFL.
I will give him credit. He's got a nice place up in Arizona. I saw that
amazing.
a couple of years. It's an amazing looking place. So credit
on that. You don't these
cribs
or what? How'd you find that out?
Oh no, it was on the draft. It was on the draft a couple of years ago. They showed his house while they were waiting for a draft pick. He's got like a beautiful freaking like mansion out there, and it's really well done. I give him credit for that. But
he's won at life. He's won at life for sure.
Did you guys see? And Igor, you might have noticed this: the disparity between the house that Bill Belichick lives in. That he is a grinder. He's not a flashy guy. He lives in this like what looked like a small boxy house. Yeah. And then you look at Cliff Kingsbury, who's clearly not a grinder, that's in this big, lavish, sunshine, beautiful. It was like one is the GOAT and one is like this trash coach. And you can see like the guy that lives like a grinder that still grinds. Like,
you make it?
I give he's out there with that mansion. He's got, he's dated some freaking models. I give Kingsbury some credit on some aspects of his life, but and I guess not the football aspects, but he's
non-football, yeah.
He's doing well for himself in some aspects.
Well for himself, man. He's won at life in some ways, right? That's all I'll give him.
Yeah. Okay. Speaking of doing well, Brandon's coming off a 5-0 week. We need to get to our picks for this week, and what better way to start it off than Brandon's team going against my team?
Boy.
We got the Cincinnati Bengals traveling to Nissan Stadium to take on the Tennessee Titans, number 1 seed in the AFC. It's a 4-point spread. And at the beginning of the year, if you would have said this is, your 1 versus 4, whatever it ended up being, one of those people, including Rob, would have laughed at you. But here we are. The tables have turned, and it's Titans with the home field advantage throughout the AFC. Shall they win today? Brandon, we're going to go to you first. So
first off, you're still wearing a Dallas Cowboys hat. I don't know what. Like, you're embarrassing Tennessee Nation. First of all, it's fine. You can wear a hat if you want to.
My hat's at home. It's at the other kid.
Hey, you got King Henry coming back, and this is a nuts weekend. I think in Nashville, Tennessee, they have like SmackDown this weekend. Got like a big NHL game. They got the NFL. It's going to be an electric time in Nashville, Tennessee, right now. But no, with this game. The hardest game to get in the playoffs, and many players will attest to this, have said this, is the first one. The Cincinnati Bengals have already gotten there first. Joe Burrow is just an absolute man. I think there's just way too many weapons on offense that they haven't even utilized that much. They didn't really utilize Tyler Boyd or T. Higgins that much last week, right? So unleashing that along with Jamar Chase, along with Joe Mixon, who struggled a bit too. I don't think this defense with Kevin Byard and the D-line and might get some stops here and there, but to contain them for the entire game, I really think that the Tennessee Titans are going to have a really tough time there. But on the other side, I think Tennessee's going to have a really tough time. Cincinnati's going to have a really tough time containing Derrick Henry if he's on a pitch count with Ogunjobi out and so on and so forth. It's going to be a great game. I'm just putting my money on the Cincinnati Bengals. Obviously, I'm being biased here. I won't be mad if they lose. Because, of course, Tennessee deserved it beating – player house money, beating the Chiefs, beating the Bills. But when it comes to this, I'm going to take the Bengals to actually – no, I'm not going to make my pick yet. Go ahead. You can talk about it first. I'm going to take the Cincinnati Bengals to cover the 4 points.
I think so. I just pulled up a score app, and I heard that just from hearing podcasts a lot of money, public money is going on Cincinnati. And nobody's believers, and rightfully so, because you look at number 1 seeded teams in the past, and you're coming with names like Green Bay Packers, New England Patriots, Peyton Manning's teams from back in the day, Aaron Rodgers, like legit star quarterbacks with primetime teams. And Tennessee Titans aren't that, right? Like without Derrick Henry, they didn't have him this year. They wouldn't be that number one seed. Like I said before, they kept going on. They treaded water, and even more so without him. Once again, like Brandon, I feel like Tennessee's kind of playing with house money, although they are the number one seed. Because, Kansas City drops a few games towards the middle of the season and then one again at the end, and Tennessee stumbles into that spot. I think that Tennessee's going to win this game. I'm going to take them on the spread. Might come down to a field goal at the end of the game. But to me, the X factor, doesn't take a brain surgery, is Derrick Henry. And Derrick Henry, when healthy, best running back in the game. Jonathan Taylor's right there with him this year. But Derrick Henry makes and breaks this team. And I think Cincinnati's going to have a tough time stopping. That's it. Do I have faith in the quarterback in Tannehill? Not really, but I have a lot more faith in him there if he can hand the ball off 30 times to Derrick Henry in the cold. My pick's Tennessee Titans, and I'm usually bet against my team, so I'll take Tennessee.
Same.
Rob, let's go to you because I want to hear your pick before we get to Igor.
So we got the Cincinnati fan on Cincy, and we got the Tennessee fan on Tennessee. Okay, so yes, I think Brandon touched on it. Ogunjobi, did I get the name right?
Yeah, Ogunjobi, yeah.
Yeah, he apparently they are like 2 yards per rush better when he's in the game. So they're missing basically their best D lineman against a team that's going to run the ball a lot. I've said that I think Tennessee is going to be a formidable foe in the playoffs given their style. They play like an old-fashioned team. So really tough one for me because I basically came off of saying, hey, I like taking the best quarterbacks now looking at last week. But I am going to take Tennessee. The pros are on Tennessee and a lot of the Joes are on Cincinnati, and that usually tends to favor the team where the professionals are. So I'll take Tennessee in the spot.
Igor.
Yeah, I kind of went back and forth with this situation, but I look at what the Titans did against playoff teams this year, and they've got some really formidable wins. They beat Kansas City, they beat the Bills. They really beat, and then this is when those teams were at their peak at points. So I think from looking at the Cincy games, they tend to have struggles against big physical type teams. They've had some really rough losses to a lot of those. So I'm leaning towards the Titans here, just because I think the Derrick Henry factor, if he's able to get it enough plays in, will be the deciding factor. So I think Tennessee probably wins it by a touchdown. So I'm going to stick to that. Just because, again, they've been so good against some really tough opposition. So, and then they seem to get up for those games. So I'm with that.
Brandon, I'm going to say something quick because I know you're going to have to say something as well. I was talking with one of my buddies who, to be honest, is like a football encyclopedia, follows the game really well. And I just brought this up. I think, last show with you guys too. Midway through the season, both Tennessee and Kansas City, just like the eye test, had the worst defenses in the league. I don't know if they were statistically the worst. They couldn't get a stop if their life depended on it. That was when people were saying Kansas City might be done. Tennessee, the same thing. Those teams look like top 5 units at this point, which I don't know how it's being done. Both teams have really good defensive linemen in Simmons, and then obviously Chris Jones on Kansas City. But something's clicked at the right time for this team, both teams on their defense. So, like I said, I have a lot more faith in the defense than I did earlier. Earlier in the year, I was not betting on the Titans. I was betting against them a lot because of that reason. But now that the offense is maybe taking a step back because Julio hasn't been great this year. 1 touchdown the last game of the season, which was meaningless. And with Henry Derrick Henry coming back, I'm, like I said, the spread, whatever, it's 4. But I think Tennessee's going to win this game. Brandon.
Yeah, they both lost to the Jets, right?
We
really
all
close.
share that in common.
Yeah, we share that in common, right? And that's when Mike White became, I should be number 1 pick, so on and so forth. But Sam Hubbard's actually playing really well. He actually is a Cincinnati native. Hendrickson, who they got in the offseason, I'm surprised that the Saints gave him up. He's actually had a really surprising year on the D-line for the Bengals. And the defense, like Hilton and Von Bell, have actually been flying around and playing decent defense as of late, right? It really comes down to it's up to Burrow. It's up to that offense to get it done. And, yeah, they're clicking at the right time. I just haven't seen enough of the Tennessee Titans recently to be like, okay, even with Derrick Henry on a pitch count with literally a plate in his foot. Literally, they asked him, like, how are you feeling? I'm feeling okay. I just have a plate in my foot. What? Like, you're a Terminator now, right? So it's one of those things, it's one of those things. I just think it's going to be a really interesting game. And I see it going both ways. I see it going anyway.
I think it's going to be low scoring regardless. Honestly, I think that Cincinnati's going to have to run the ball as well. I think Tennessee's going to done a good job pressuring the quarterback this year. Maybe not with the sacks, but with the hurries, they've done a really good job. And Cincy's O line, I keep saying it, it's not incredible. I think it's below average. That's something I'm looking for today. Because Burrow's running for his life as is. We know he takes a lot of shots. I want to see how he adjusts with the ball. Is he going to get those balls out early and throw them out of bounds, or is he going to try and make plays, maybe throw a pick, get a sack? I think it might come down to a turnover. And I hope
you think Kevin Byard and those guys can shut down Jamar Chase and the rest of those guys?
I want to see it. I don't think so, but that's why I'm interested to see. But like I said it before on the show, if I'm building a team, I'm not really worried on the secondary. I'm worried about the offensive line, the defensive line. Because if you're getting pressure on that quarterback, it doesn't matter how good your corners are because he can't throw the ball.
Good point. Yeah.
I think we're done on this one. We'll move on to game number 2.
Yep.
Game number 2 today.
Igor's favorites.
Igor, we're going to you, man.
This guy's a closeted Rodgers fan.
Mr. Ivermectin. You're wearing red today. San Fran's taking on the Green Bay Packers at the frozen tundra. And Green Bay's a 5-point favorite. We know that you're going to take San Fran by the points. Do you think they're going to win this game as well?
I don't know. I think, you know what? It's one of those situations where for Mr. Ivermectin, I mean, I think, now's not safe for you. I think that's what the 49ers came out with the Kodak Black Super Gremlins last week. You know what? Like, I look at the situation, and again, I personally think that Rodgers didn't want this matchup. I think he would have preferred almost anybody else, minus, maybe Tampa in the next round, because he's got a bad track record. I mean, I can say that, I don't dislike the man is over, but you just got to look at the stats. And in the playoffs, he's 0-3 against them. He's got more interceptions than touchdowns, which again for him is saying something because he doesn't throw a lot of picks. And the 49ers, the Packers beat them earlier in the year by a 51-yard field goal. When the 49ers weren't very good, they had no running game. They've established that significantly with Elijah Mitchell and Debo. So it's a much better team. You're going to have Nick Bosa, who is questionable with a concussion. You're going to have Fred Warner. It's going to be a problem. I think five is a little much, especially considering that the 49ers do match up with them relatively well. I think Mosley will be on Devontae Adams, and Mosley's been quite good in the secondary. I can do. If you're asking me, do I think San Francisco can win? Absolutely. The track record tells you that. And I get it. The Packers situation is completely different. They're going to get some guys back. Completely understand that. But the momentum, I think the 49ers are riding high. I personally think they're going to run the ball like crazy. Keep Jimmy G from making those mistakes he made against the Cowboys by not putting him in any crazy situations. And they'll run it down. And the Packers run defense 29th in the NFL. And they're terrible in the red zone. The 49ers, number 1 team in the red zone. Packers, and then near the bottom. So that defense has been susceptible to particular things. And to me, if the 49ers establish the run game, they win the game. And then you keep Rodgers off the field and so forth. And I think, I'm taking the Niners. And, I can see them winning the game. I can absolutely see them winning the game. Now's not safe for you.
I was waiting for him to cue me in, but Rob, okay, I'll just jump in here real quick. Devondre Campbell's in the middle of the field playing as a linebacker. He's ready to go for this game. That defense was so Douglas. Remember, if you think about the game, the last 3 games where the Packers lost to, the 49ers in the divisional round, and of course in the wild card as well too. You had Colin Kaepernick, and you had a team that went to the Super Bowl in the 49ers that was just ridiculous on the ground. They're just ridiculous with Raheem Mostert, so on and so forth. You couldn't really beat. That was kind of their year to get to the Super Bowl. This is Aaron Rodgers' year, okay? You know why? Jimmy Garoppolo has never played in negative under 30 degrees in his career. Never. He's never had a low temperature game in his career. So with that being said, and I think right now, they're saying it's slated to be -5 or something low, a really cold game.
Below
At
zero.
all points, below zero. It's going to be pointing towards the guys that have done it. And Aaron Rodgers is around 31-17 in the cold in his career, right? So I'm going to put everything in the house on the Packers because I think they're going to be able to run the ball, first of all. I know Joey Bosa's back, but they probably got Bakhtiari back in the line as well, too. And once again, Jimmy Garoppolo loves throwing those in routes, those little in routes, 15 yards, 10 yards down the field in the middle. Now you got Devondre Campbell sitting in the middle. You got Rasul Douglas. You got Amos. So and I think Quan Alexander's back as well, too. You're going to shut that down. And you got to key on Debo Samuel. And if that's done, if Debo Samuel's out of the game, then I think the Packers definitely have
I was going to say
this game.
I was going to say there's two guys. And when the 49ers, Igor was saying they're the hottest team in the league. And, I've talked about this before with the tight end position. When they've had Kittle, they've been a totally different team. Probably the best blocking tight end in the game, definitely the best complete tight end in the game. And when he's there, everything clicks. But the spread, like I said, Igor, I have you down for San Fran, obviously, plus the 5. Brandon, sorry, I cut you off before you finish your pick. Is it Green Bay minus the 5 for you?
Green Bay minus 5, yes. Lock it in.
I was just going to say, people have been talking about this matchup since the bracket started, and they were saying if San Fran can get by the Cowboys, which they did, Green Bay might have a kryptonite of San Fran because they run the ball so well. And they can control the clock, keep the ball out of Rodgers' hands. Rodgers this year, like Brandon said, this is maybe his best statistical season in his career, right? I think at this point it's a lock for him to win the MVP. Does that guarantee any playoff success? No. And to be honest, usually when guys win the MVP, they usually don't have a great playoff, just generally speaking in any sport. But like I just have a gut feeling, not because I love Aaron Rodgers. Like I said, I really respect him as a quarterback, but both him and Brady don't love them as people. Regardless, I think that Aaron Rodgers is the best quarterback in the game. I don't think that's really a debate at this point. In form, he's the best quarterback in the game, going to go down as one of the best ever, as Igor struggles to digest that. But I do have Green Bay in this game. I think that, for them even to get to the Super Bowl, the only team that I'm really worried about, to be honest with them meeting, is the Rams. We'll get to Stafford in a second. But I have Green Bay in this game, and I think it's going to be a convincing win. We talked about Warner coming back and Bosa. Neither of those guys are 100%. And yeah, they cleared him to play with a concussion. But if you saw that knee hit him in the side of the neck there, that's a pretty serious injury. Now, this wasn't a playoff game. He'd be taking time off. He has a history with injuries and concussions. So it's going to be a handful. This defense is legitimate. I have Green Bay there. I'm putting my eggs in the basket. I hope I'm not going to get burned by Mr. Ivermectin and also the defense. But I'm hoping Aaron doesn't throw interceptions because we've talked about this before. In big games, he has unfortunately thrown too many picks. I think the running game is going to help that. He hasn't had a running game this strong in a while. And all that combined is going to lead to my Green Bay minus 5 pick. Rob, take it away.
I was really torn on this one. I'll take San Fran plus the points, but I do think Green Bay wins, and I think it is. I think Aaron gets a little redemption from the. I believe it was 2 years ago when San Francisco just absolutely embarrassed them twice. Once in the regular season and once in the NFC Championship game. They won in the trenches. I think Green Bay addressed that toughness issue the next year, and I think they will be more physically fit to go up against the San Fran team. So I'll take them to win, but I'll take San Fran to cover the 5.5 or 5.
I like that too. I like that pick too. Any closing thoughts on this game before we get to the next? Any other thoughts?
Jimmy's never played in the cold. Biggest thing.
Yeah, and that's something else to look at. Yeah.
The interesting stat that I saw the other day was that the Packers, since that Super Bowl win in 2010, only 7-6 in the playoffs. So ever since then, they barely are over 500. Which, considering again some of the teams they've had, that's a real poor track record in the playoffs. Absolutely. So I mean, I'm looking forward to seeing what happens. I think 49ers are playing with house money. They're obviously not favored whatsoever, but I like what they're doing, and we'll see how that running game handles the situations out in the cold. I think if Jimmy G has to throw the ball too much, then the Niners lose, absolutely. But I like what Ayuk is doing. Kittle hasn't done much the last couple of games, so he's kind of due. It should be an interesting game. I'm looking forward to that tonight. I'll be on that very, very much so.
I was going to say this is a later.
7-6 does not sound right because I feel like they've had more than 6 losses in the playoffs.
It feels like
they've got to be up they've got to be up in the 9 because they make the playoffs every year except that 1 year. Rodgers.
I think I saw 7-6 since 2010, so that would be
12 years.
13 games. So again, they made the NFC Championship a few times, but sometimes they've been one. I'll double check that, but
you're talking about the divisional round. Okay, all right.
Divisional round.
The divisional round, it could be the divisional round.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense. All right.
Hey, as Rob said, they addressed the toughness, right? They addressed the defense, and that's the biggest thing. When they got embarrassed 2 years ago and Nick Bosa was in Aaron Rodgers' face every play, their offensive line wasn't as strong as they are. Defense was not nearly as good as they are right now. So this is the team. This is the Packers' year, man. And if they don't get it this year, then I lose all hope. Circle the wagons. Circle the square.
You'll come back next year like the
Yeah,
rest.
probably.
No, bro.
Back next year like the rest.
Quick question for Igor that I already know the answer to. Igor, I'm assuming, like, let's say that they go to the Super Bowl. You're betting against them every week if you have a pick, right?
No, like again, I think this is a
It's a
situation.
bad matchup.
I think it's a bad, and I'm not gonna lie. I've turned into a massive, especially this year, because again, I had a little bit thing as a fantasy thing. But man, I think Deebo Samuel is a freaking special player, and I've turned into a massive fan of Deebo. I know I'm rooting for the guy to do some things because he's to me he's a guy that he reminds me a lot of Devontae Adams, but man, he's turned into a real beast this year. So I'm legitimately hoping that they do well because I'm digging the whole the super gremlin thing. I was on watching those videos.
All right,
It's
AB.
hilarious. I'm hoping they do well. I really am. And I like the team. I think it was Rob that mentioned earlier in the year that he thought that they had maybe like the best roster out of everybody. I'm pretty sure it was the 49ers he was going with.
He said Green Bay and Cleveland, I'm pretty sure, right? Were his two team rosters.
Oh, I was under the impression that he thought the 49ers had the best. Well, maybe.
Sorry, it was San Fran and Cleveland. He said had the best roster.
Yes, that's what I assumed. Yeah. So, like I said, I'm hoping that they do well. And part of me will probably always root against Mr. Ivermectin, but I legitimately think it'll be a great game of football, and that's what I'm hoping for at least. No blowouts. No, 49ers do it. I won't be that mad.
Okay, so that one's done, and that's the night game tonight. Let's go to 3:00 tomorrow. Rams are taking on Tampa. I'll leave this off because, to be honest, if I have one pick in this weekend that I would actually bet my money on, my pick is the Rams +3, and I think the Rams are going to win this game. I think that Tampa got the best draw possible last week with Jalen Hurts, a quarterback that can't throw the ball. I talked about this before with some of these running quarterbacks. You want them to stay in the pocket and make the throws. And they kind of did that with Hurts, and he couldn't make the throws. Now, not necessarily Stafford, but OBJ's coming around. To be honest, at every position, the Rams defense is clicking. Granted, it was against Arizona, who was a train wreck. But I think that LA, like I said, for me, I'm taking them +3. Now, Tampa's been, I want to say they're unbeaten at home this year. If anything, they have one loss.
They one loss, yeah.
The injuries are going to catch up to them. We talked about it now. You actually have to throw the ball now. You're going against an elite defense. You're going to have Aaron Donald in your face probably the entire game. And we know that Tom Brady doesn't like a lot of pressure. I'm really worried about that. And to be honest, you're going to have to run the ball a lot as well. This Rams defense is legit. You're going against the best defensive tackle and the best corner game on the Rams there. I'm taking the Rams all day. I think they're going to win maybe even by 7. Igor, I'll throw to you because I know this is your quarterback.
So as much as it pains me to say, I probably have to agree. My heart obviously was hoping that Tom gets it done, but yeah, you made a lot of points that I was looking at the situation and feel very similar. I think the Tampa O-line, Wirfs was basically couldn't even stand last week. Jensen's also hurt, so that's the right tackle in the center. The backup right tackle was also busted up, and you're going against a pretty ferocious Rams pass rush. So that is to me is going to be the problem. I think Fournette's going to be back. I think the only way that the Bucs actually win this game is if that defense really gives Stafford a lot of problems, and he has an Aaron Rodgers-like game in the NFC Championship where he throws a lot, a few, actually I guess more of a Breeze situation where he throws a lot of picks and so forth. But it's a bad matchup, and again they've already beaten Tampa this season. They beat them last season. It's a bad matchup in terms of personnel, and Tampa's busted up on the O-line. So yeah, I'm probably, as much as it pains me to say it, the Rams probably win the game, and obviously they cover. And that's just football IQ but I still hope Tom does it, but he probably won't.
Brandon.
Yeah, I was going to say one thing about Tom Brady. He's undefeated in the divisional round over the past decade, right? So that the guy's just a winner, first of all, right? But I agree with you both. Tristan Wirfs, Cam Jansen, another guy that's going to be injured, right? The backup for Tristan Wirfs he's literally the worst offensive lineman I've seen like a long time. He literally was so bad as soon as Tristan Wirfs went up. It was awful seeing the pass rush and Brady being rushed. I could have covered if he threw one more time to Scotty Miller, but anyways, it is what it is. But with this game, the best thing about for the Rams, the number one QB and the number one QBR in the league against the blitz is Matt Stafford. And what does Todd Bowles like to do a lot? He likes to blitz a lot, right? So Matt Stafford's number one against the blitz in the league since week 2, I believe. There's a stat kind of pull up. And I just think they have all the weapons, and it's a really bad matchup for Tom Brady, especially without Goodwin, especially without Antonio Brown as well too. I just think it's one of those games you're going to run into a buzzsaw, and I'm taking the Rams to cover the 3 points for sure.
Rob, drop your knowledge.
I was with you guys with the Rams. I'll go with you guys, but there are two things that are making me hesitant here. Matt Stafford, I'm not a huge fan of, and I just heard that the professionals are coming in pretty heavy on Tampa, which is surprising because of all the factors you guys said, like, the O-line, the Rams D-line looked fantastic last week against Arizona. I have LA kind of in a surprise here, but the professionals are on Tampa, which scares me a little bit.
So you are leaning towards Tampa?
I'll take the Rams, but I'm worried.
Yeah, this is a tough game. Not tougher than the last one though.
No.
Okay, so that'll wrap up that one then. Like I said, to me, and I guess we're on the same pick there. I just pulled up the score app as well, and 55% of the people are taking the Rams plus the 3. I don't know. Like I said, if this game was on a neutral field, yeah. Like the only thing to me, the best chance Tampa have is that they've been incredible at home, and it's really been a safe haven for them. But like I said, like you have one of your 3 wide receivers, you still have your best one, but you're going against Jalen Ramsey there, right? You're going to get some support there, and he's probably going to get locked down. Igor, go ahead.
The one thing that, again, to go off of Rob's point, is that Sean McVay was doing a lot of those like celebrating at halftime type things in LA, and I think that really like took a lot of the Tampa players the wrong way because McVay was just like looking like he won the Super Bowl in that game. That might cause a little bit of extra motivation for the Tampa players. I think so because it drew a lot of attention the way that he was acting at halftime. And again, teams tend to try to, use like different factors. And the factors that they beat Tampa already twice, again, once this year, once last year, it might be a motivating factor. And to me, again, I think if Tampa has any chance, I think the defense has got to play incredible. The secondary isn't the greatest. And again, with Cooper Kupp and Beckham Jr. and Van Jefferson and Higbee, they're going to be in a situation. But if they can get pressure on Stafford, we saw it. I think it was the Green Bay game, I believe. He makes a lot of like bad mistakes. I think it was also Tennessee. I think it was a Sunday nighter. I think it was either Green Bay or Tennessee. He makes a lot of like really bad mistakes under pressure at times. So it's definitely something to look at. But I think it's going to need like everything to go well for Tampa in that sense, and the O-line to hold up, which I don't think they'll be able to based off what I saw against Philly. And Tom, I think, is like 4-6 in games he gets sacked more than 3 times. It's bad. So in those type of situations, which I think they will get that pass rush, it's going to be tough to really protect him in those situations.
This is the thing that came out. I was going to say the Man in the Arena, Tom Brady stuff. They didn't release the last episode because apparently they were waiting for him to win the Super Bowl this year to release and announce his retirement. That's apparently the rumor. But once again, I don't buy it's actually happened. But Vita Vea, man, what a rusher! And Kelsey was struggling with him last week, right? So we'll see what happens. But no, Rams for sure.
And
man.
Kelsey's a Pro Bowl, All-Pro, Hall of Famer kind of guy. Lastly, I was just going to say, I guess what I was looking for last week, they didn't need to because they were going against Philly. With all the injuries at the wide receiver position, I was looking for more Gronk, more Braid, and even some Howard there. And Braid had a decent game. I think that Tom's going to need to get all those guys included if they have a chance of winning because with their secondary receivers, they obviously don't have the strength, all the injuries they had. Just want to see, if they win, Gronk's going to have a massive game and Braid too, I think.
Don't sleep on Scotty Miller and Tyler Johnson. Those guys actually get some run too, right? So guys got to step up.
Yeah, no, they're decent. But like I said, and you're right. But I think that the tight ends, Gronk usually comes up big in all these games that they end up winning. All these tight games, Gronk shows up.
Whenever Tom needs to do something, it's like he'll go from no runs to like running the ball all game. Every game is different with that guy. So if he wants to get Gronk involved, he'll get Gronk. If he wants to do something, he'll do it.
True. One of the more cerebral assassin, Triple H.
You don't need to motivate. You don't need to motivate Tom Brady, man. He's already motivated.
Speaking of picking spots, Brandon, circle those wagons because we've come to the Buffalo Bills. The game that most people are looking to this weekend. Buffalo Bills taking on the Kansas City Chiefs. Our first get together with me, Igor and Rob, I was eliminated from my survivor pick when I took Kansas City in the midst of their tailspin at home. They got destroyed 38-20 October 10th. That game will forever live in my heart. But both these teams are a little bit different since obviously Kansas City's turned the tide, a great home team. Rob, we'll go to you first. I want to know who you're going to take in this one.
I'm going KC just for the sheer fact of, like I said earlier in the episode, Buffalo was perfect last week, which means that in football, as we know, it's week to week. You're perfect one week, which means you're going to be probably a little subpar the next week. They have the highest ceiling. I'm just going to bet that ceiling is not going to be there this week. I think that the fact that they smoked the Chiefs, to win in Arrowhead twice in one season is going to be really tough. They've built their team to beat Kansas City, but what I've seen from Kansas City recently with the offense is clicking, their defense looks good again. They look like the complete Kansas City Chiefs again. I'm betting on a regression of Buffalo back to the mean. I don't think last week was accurate. I'm going to go with the Chiefs -2.5.
Brandon.
Yeah, this is a tough one because both teams are just clicking in the right time. They're peaking at the right time as well, too. But what really gets me is the defense of Buffalo. I think defense of Buffalo is the most underrated this year. Last year, of course, seeing Tyreek Hill kind of run rush on them, it was definitely tough to stop. But now you got even more guys in Kansas City like Pringle, Robinson getting involved. And, it's going to be really tough kind of stopping them. But I think after that year, pretty much bringing the entire team back for the Bills and having a better running attack, I think this is the year, man. I think this is really get past it. I'm really hesitant. I'm really scared. I don't think I'm going to bet on it because it's just one of those. It can be either a route both sides, and it can be really embarrassing for the Bills going back into Arrowhead Stadium. But I'm going to take the Bills because Josh Allen is just he's just playing really well. I don't think he doesn't look scared. He just wants to be the best version of himself, and I'm going to take the Bills. I'm going to take Josh Allen to pretty much do the same thing again, even though I know it's unrealistic. But I want to see the Bills go on, so I'm going to take the Bills plus 2 points.
And Brandon, are you expecting a big dose of Singletary today?
Oh, a big dose of Singletary for sure. It'll be tough because Chris Jones, Frank Clark, I believe, is supposed to be coming back. He's playing really well. I think Devin Singletary is going to have a decent game. He's playing his best football of his career. So I think he's going to have a really steady they're going to have a good Russian attack with Josh Allen involved as well, too. But you got to get the ball out to those guys like Stephon Diggs and McKenzie's playing really well, right? You got Wilson playing really well. Emmanuel Sanders, right? You got to get Dawson Knox. You got weapons. So I want to see the Bills win this game, and I think they will.
Cole Beasley.
God, he's up and down. Mr. Unvaxxed.
The guys there to spread the ball too.
Yeah.
Igor, you're back.
I'm gonna go with the Buffalo Bills on this one in a bit of an upset situation because I think they have the best ranked secondary in the league. They've already done it. They're not afraid to go to Arrowhead and get a W because they've already done it this year. And even though the Chiefs defense was, pretty shambolic in that game and they've recovered, I think there's opportunities there for Josh Allen and the Bills to really go after. And I don't know, the Chiefs run the ball decently. I don't know if Hilaire is going to be able to play, if they're going to go with, Williams or they're going to go with Gore or whatever the situation is.
McKinnon.
Oh, McKinnon. Yeah, McKinnon was great last year. Yeah, I should mention that. He's been a bit of a journeyman throughout his career, but he did have a great game against the Steelers on Sunday night. I think the Bills are on a high. I think they got that, they beat up the Pats. They got that monkey off their back in that kind of situation. And I think they're going to go into Arrowhead pretty confident. And I think that there's going to be situations where the Chiefs make mistakes. They're going to force Mahomes to make some of those crazy throws. A couple of turnovers here and there, and they have a ball hawking secondary. And as much as I don't love to give the Bills credit, I thought they would have been in a lot of trouble with White out for the season because he was their their all pro corner. Yeah, they've been great in the secondary even without him, which is fantastic. So I'm going to take the Bills to cover the points, and I see them winning the game.
I guess looks like we're 2 for the Bills, 1 for Kansas City. Guys, I was looking at it, and I don't know, I have my gut feeling telling me Kansas City. I want Buffalo to win. I do. I want them to win. I know there's a lot of fans, obviously, in the Toronto area. And as a football fan, as like an unbiased fan, you probably want them to win. Kansas City's been there before. Mahomes has been there before. But Buffalo obviously has had a lot of misery since they went to the Super Bowl 3 times in the early 90s, right? Especially being in that division with the Pats. I don't know what it is. I just, like I said, gut feelings telling me Kansas City wins this game, and I think that they might even end up winning by 7. I hope that it's going to be close. I hope it come down to a last-second drive that the team ends up pulling it out. But I just think, like, even last week, one of my for sure pick last week was Kansas City minus the 12. A lot of people were looking for reasons. Pittsburgh didn't really belong to be in that game. Big Ben, blah, blah, blah. Kansas City did what they wanted all game. The beginning of the game was a little bit slower. They just moved the ball. It was almost embarrassing to watch. So I'm going to go Kansas City minus the 2. We're split on those games. Any last thoughts on this one before we wrap it up?
I think they said, I heard a stat, Mahomes has only not covered in the playoffs 3 times in his, I believe, 4 years. And 2 of those times was against Tom Brady, against the Pats, the year that, and the Bucks in the Super Bowl. So, and the only other time he didn't cover was when he got knocked out against the Browns in the 3rd quarter and didn't play, and they were covering and then they didn't cover. So the guy's a machine against not Tom Brady led teams.
And this is really a pick-up, right? Like, it's a -2. So
that's nuts. That's nuts. That guy's a monster. Yeah. Sorry to cut you off, Dre.
No, that's it. I was going to say, you guys closing thoughts. Like, it's been a short career, obviously, for him so far. But this, at the beginning of the year, I remember I made my pick and I said Rams over the Chiefs. And I said it was tough for me to go against Kansas City because if there's a quarterback I want to have that last-second drive, it's Mahomes. And, I locked faith earlier in the season in both the Rams and Kansas City. But both those teams now look like they're hitting their stride at the right time.
Yeah, I was just going to say, like, I feel so bad. I feel bad for them. You got to go through. You got to beat the Kings to get, you got to beat the best to get to be the best, of course. And the Bills had to get their Pats first week, and now the Chiefs. It could have been so easy if they just won the game against Tennessee. They would have probably played Tennessee. Probably been, who knows? Cincinnati could probably be playing KC at this point. So it just, I think everything kind of will come to fruition because they were here last year, right? Well, in the AFC Championship game. It was AFC Championship game, right? It was AFC Championship game, yeah. Yep. And seeing Kansas City win that game and now looking, hey, you got to beat them again. You got to beat them. You can't. For them to go down, it's going to be tough. It's going to be really tough if they lose this game and now you got to do it all over again. This is the year, man. They're peaking. They're peaking at the right time.
Yeah, I think for the Bills, it's one of those things where you tend to have small windows at times, and if you can't get over humps, you obviously start losing guys, and things get change up quite a bit. So yeah, it's a big statement game for the Bills because if they drop this one, it's going to be a tough pill to swallow because it's going to be a little bit back to the drawing board, I think. So should be interesting for sure.
As we wrap it up, guys, we'll just go through it. I'll just post this clip. Give me your 4 picks against the spread. I have them written down, but just for our clip. Igor, we'll go with you. Give us your 4 picks.
So against the spread, I have the 49ers minus the 5. I guess the Tennessee Titans, I believe that spread is what, 4?
4.
Yeah. Again, I got the Rams plus 3. And, I got the Bills plus the, I guess, 2.5 or 2.
2 points. Brandon.
Yeah, I got Cincinnati plus the 4. I got Green Bay plus minus the 5. I got the Rams plus the 3. And I got the Bills plus the 2. All over the
Rob,
place.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I got Tennessee, KC. I got the Rams, and then I got the Niners. We
all have different picks. I have Tennessee minus the 4, Green Bay minus 5, LA plus the 3, and Kansas City minus the 2. Which is, regardless, this is going to set up some pretty interesting AFC and NFC championship games for next week. We're all really looking forward to, and hopefully, like I said, just with the quarterbacks that are remaining, everybody's pretty elite minus Jimmy and Tannehill. And I think a lot of people probably don't have them going too far. But both guys are, great story either way. But guys, before we wrap up the show, any last thoughts you guys want to do before we say sayonara?
We can get our locks of the week.
Oh, locks. I almost forgot, but we're at that point. I'll lead it off first then for the lock of the week. I already made my pick. LA Rams plus the 3 is my lock of the week. Bet the house on it, boys.
Wow, it's a tough one.
Brandon.
Yo, I really want to go with the Rams plus the 2. I think that would be the logical pick, but I'm going to, just because Igor's here, going with the Green Bay Packers minus the 5. Minus the 5 for the lock of the week. Let's go.
Rob.
Right to the NFC Championship game.
I'll go with my team, with my boys, the Tennessee Titans.
Your boys, your team. Who would have thought? Where's my hat?
Remember back in the days, like,
Igor,
take off that hat.
Wagon,
take off the hat.
Again, I'm going with history, and I'm going with my boy Debo. I'm going with the San Francisco 49ers minus the 5.
There we go.
Plus the 5.
Plus the 5. Sorry, plus the 5. Not minus the 5. I got
be wrong.
belief in the super gremlin and they'll get that done. They'll get that done.
You believe in super gremlin? That's AB. AB is the super gremlin. He's like, I ran off the field because I'm super gremlin. Yeah, that's
Actually,
interesting. Circle that game.
Well, Kodak's on the Chiefs. If anybody wants to know, I saw his little hat situation too. He's on the Chiefs. If anyone's wondering.
Who is?
Mr. Kodak Black. He's been running wild in Florida recently. I'm sure some of you have seen it on social media.
His song is called Super Gremlin, and that's like the AB referred to it. The 49ers come out to it every single game. That song, yeah, Super Gremlin. But yeah, it's gonna be interesting, man. Circle the San Francisco Green Bay Packers game, Bills Chiefs. It's gonna be a great weekend of
Every
football.
game circle, man. We're in the
everything.
playoffs.
We're in the playoffs.
Yeah, circle. We only got 4.
Everything's circle. My bad. But circle that game especially.
And you know what? The only game, to be honest, I am gonna circle is gonna be Green Bay and San Fran tonight.
Yeah, he's a hater. Igor's a hater, man.
I just want to tell you and be forewarned because I actually took it pretty easy on the Cowboys stuff this week. But I tell you right now, if Mr. Ivermectin loses that game, y'all don't want to see me next Saturday when we do this again. I need about 10 minutes. It's all
I'm gonna need 20.
I'm gonna need some time too. I'll wear this again if they win.
Again, he's they have all the flowers. They're being, they're supposed to win it all, and this is gonna be a test for him. I want to see how he handles it.
I honestly don't think they're supposed to win at all. Like the Rams are really good, right? So if they run into the Rams next week, that's a toss-up. They
already beat the Rams. They beat them in the playoffs last year, and I believe they beat them this year already. So they technically usually do well against the Rams. So again, to me, the kryptonite's always been the San Francisco 49ers. And again, I think the momentum's going to be a thing. And again, I will say one thing before we go is I am a little concerned about that whole West Coast team going into the cold thing. That's a good point because that usually does play quite a bit of a factor because they're not used to playing in those conditions. So that could play a factor. But again, I will be taking because again he's due for a bad game. Mr. Ivermectin's had a great stretch. I'll give him credit. He's due for a rough one. So we'll see what happens. He hasn't thrown an interception in I think about half the season. And again, that's due for a tip here, a tip there. Now that's due for something. So we'll see what happens. I'll be watching.
Let me just say something real quick. He played against the Detroit Lions. Of course, they lost that game. He didn't really need to be in that game, but he's not due for a bad. It's the playoffs, right? He knows that this is where he gets criticized the most. He has one Super Bowl. You cannot have one Super Bowl if you're Aaron Rodgers. So this is the year. I know you're saying he's due for a big game.
Are you helping my bandwagon with this conversation, or what's going
on? No. I'm just saying it's a playoffs, right? He's not going to just fold and just. It's not the same, man. Aaron Rodgers. Hey, we'll see. Who's going to get their little monologue next time we're on this show.
If he loses,
have a little bet.
Hold on, here we got Rob. Rob's got a good chime in here. Let's go.
If he loses, he has to basically be like me and go like, I look like I'm a guy on the run right now, and this is a sketch of like, hey, look for the. He's got to go into hiding if he loses.
Yeah, he does. It's gonna be tough. It's gonna be really tough.
Guys, we're gonna need to make a bet between Brandon and Igor here.
Yes. Yes.
We should do this game. If Green Bay pulls this out, I'm going to need a Rodgers jersey on Igor next week. And Igor, maybe a Pats jersey for Brandon the following week, whatever you want.
Am I getting the points at least?
No, because you said he's going to lose, so you don't get points.
Oh, well, that's the suckers, but I'm not even getting the points.
You see, he's shying away now. This
is a rough wager for me. I get the underdog team at home.
How do you want it?
I should at least get the points.
I was going to say, why don't we do that? Aaron has to get – Aaron, you guys kind of do the bet, but he either has to get to an NFC championship or a Super Bowl. One of the two. What if you want to add that to it?
Sure. I mean, again, the Rams situation, I completely understand it. But the bookies still have them favored to win the Super Bowl. So, I mean, to me,
best record in football,
if he doesn't win the Super Bowl, or especially doesn't make it again, and he ends up being 1-5 in the NFC Championship, which will come up next week if he wins this week. It's
LeBron.
Not a bad season. Again, for most people, it would be a decent year reaching the semifinal. But considering what their team and what they've done this year, that would be, and especially considering they have home field advantage, that would be considered an abject failure. I don't think Brandon can deny that one.
No, of course not.
Reach the Super Bowl. They got to at least reach a Super Bowl.
Yeah, they got to win the
They-
NFC Championship game for sure.
Yeah.
For sure. I agree. But this week,
But from what I'm hearing a lot of Rams situations. So a lot of people. So I'm sensing that a lot of people don't think they're going to reach the Super Bowl in here. I'm feeling the aura in here.
No, I still think they can beat the Rams in. I just think it's one of those things where they've just beat the brakes off the Rams in Lambeau Field multiple times. It might come around. It might be a tough game, but I still think the Packers will win that game if they play him. As long as he doesn't see Tom Brady, I'm all for the Packers.
So hold on. So as long as he doesn't see Tom.
No, I just said that. I even if he's even if he see listen, even if he see let me say it like this. Even if he sees the Buccaneers, I think it's gonna be poetic justice. He's gonna beat them. He's gonna beat the 49ers, get to the Super Bowl. I think if he plays the Chiefs in the Super Bowl, it might be really tough for them to win. But that's the game I'm looking forward to. I think he gets the Super Bowl.
This confidence is waning.
Listen,
I'm gonna ask.
Slowly.
Igor, I'm gonna get you a Rodgers jersey for next week for sure. I'm gonna get you a Rodgers jersey, man.
All right.
That's what we'll do.
I just got one statement and one question. I was gonna say in the NFL, other than Tom Brady, we can look at Peyton Manning, Aaron Rodgers, Drew Brees. Drew Brees has one Super Bowl, one of the greatest quarterbacks to ever live. Top 10, top 5 probably. Peyton Manning, the second one he got probably didn't deserve it, but he has 2. Am I correct?
Yeah.
2, right? Aaron Rodgers has 1. And the common denominator with all these guys is they don't have Bill Belichick. And Tom Brady's incredible. You know me. I will give him his credit. But having a great coach, having a great game plan, having a great defense for the most part of all those times, getting there every year in a weaker conference, weaker division, not taking anything away from it. But it's not like Rodgers doesn't have peers to look at and be like, hey, it's Peyton Manning. Did he do any much better than I did? Not really. Drew Brees, did you do much better than I did? Not really. It's a lot tougher, I was going to say, in football. This isn't basketball where LeBron's going to get rings. He's going to stumble into them every year. Your Curry will.
I mean, I would agree with that for the most part, but I mean, changes conferences, wins the Super Bowl. He went away to New Orleans, won the game. Went away to Green Bay, won the game, and beat the Chiefs. So, me, that's all that. To me, that like the whole, the weaker, like as soon as you go to a Tampa team that hadn't done much.
Tampa stacked.
Tampa stacked, first of all. You're forgetting that.
Very good. I'm not going to do that. But again, a team that had one of some of the worst winning percentages in forever. They changed the quarterback from Jameis Winston to Tom Brady. A lot of the young guys absolutely came about. They added a few pieces. And Gronkowski last year, it wasn't all that throughout the regular season. He showed up a little bit in the playoffs, absolutely. But again, the common denominator was a change in quarterback ended up changing the fruitions of the whole team. So again, that to me proved a lot. And Bill, obviously, I'm not going to talk about Bill after what happened last week, but we'll leave it at that.
I think one of the things with Aaron
Get ready.
is that it's not just the Super Bowl wins. Like John Elway went to 5 Super Bowls, even though he only won 2. Peyton went to 4.
Yep.
These guys have gone to Favre went to 2 or 3. Like, Aaron's only been to the 1. Like he's at least got to get there.
One. Yeah.
Yeah, that's because he had Mike McCarthy. Mike McCarthy's the worst time managing coach of all time.
Now I think we can all agree on that too, right?
Yes, we can.
He was a terrible coach.
Mike McCarthy had Brett Favre and Aaron Rodgers went to 1 Super Bowl. Like he's awful. So that's really what it comes down to.
You know what? And that's actually another factor that plays into tonight's game. I personally think that Kyle Shanahan is a much better coach than Matty LaFleur.
LaFleur is good though. Obviously, Shanahan's incredible, but
LaFleur last year same kind of deal. Under pressure, I still don't think what he was thinking on that 4th down when he goes for the field goal and puts the ball back in Brady's hands. That was one of the stupidest decisions I've seen in a while. He has these Mike McCarthy moments. Don't get it twisted. Like he's made some really very abject, real weird situations.
There's
so
probably
Kyle Shanahan. Besides that Falcon situation where he was the offensive coordinator and they blew that 28-3 to my Patriots, I'll take Shanahan over LaFleur all day. But again, that should be an interesting matchup in itself.
Yeah, just a few. I have a few closing thoughts, and we'll go. In football, what are there? 3 to 5 elite head coaches. Everybody else is either absolutely terrible or the same as everybody else. Last comparison I was going to make, and like I said, once again, not taking anything away from Tom Brady. Tampa Bay, we've seen it. The analogy I'll quickly make is when we look at the Raptors team when they brought in Kawhi Leonard, the Raptors got there every year. They were close. They were missing the 1 star. Tampa Bay gets the 1 star with 2 elite wide receivers. Throw in AB there. Great defense, Vita Vea, all those linebackers. Great pieces. What did they need? A quarterback. Jameis Winston wasn't that guy. He threw them out of games. Now you have a quarterback, not just competent, but incredible. Everything makes sense now. Sometimes there's just a missing key. If Tom Brady would have went to the Philadelphia Eagles and won it, it's a totally different conversation, or any other team. He went to a team, and like I said, once again, the proof's in the pudding. The guy's incredible. He went to a good situation as well, and he picked that very smartly. They won a Super Bowl. Some things broke their way, and they won.
Hey, he still threw three interceptions in that game. All right, so listen. We can go on and on and on, and the Hail Mary, Kevin King, of course, Scotty Miller. That's another factor as well too. Everything just played. He's literally God's child. Yeah, he's born the man.
The stars aligned last year for sure.
Hey,
yeah.
But this is Aaron's year. Let's see. Game. I cannot wait for tonight.
Brandon's gonna be crushed.
Let's see, buddy. Let's see.
You guys
all right, that's going to wrap it up for this week. We'll be back next week to talk about the AFC and the NFC championships. Thanks for tuning in, guys, for all the guys here. Let's see you guys next week on the block.
See y'all.